Hello, everybody. Today we will be going over a review and unboxing of Scythe Incendio. It is the Hasbro version of Hell's Scythe, the Takara Tomy counterpart. The parts are exactly the same, colors are exactly the same. There's nothing really to speak on that. It has this little Let It Rip tab, so I'm going to utilize that to the best of my ability. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Oh, finally! I might be the first person to do that well. First things first. Okay, first things first, I'm going to be going over this light launcher. Very basic, very boring, doesn't really have very much power, kind of lame, bad. Just buy a better one. Next, we will be going over the small parts.
This bit is taper, and essentially its point is to be kind of like a semi-flat, so not as aggressive as flat, having a little bit more stamina, but still being able to have some aggression to hit other opponents in the pockets or to burst them. It has type resistance, and basically, the difference between a bit with type resistance and a bit with low resistance is...
Hello everyone. I didn't explain this whole thing very well in the original video, so it's kind of future me here, but essentially the way that a Beyblade bursts is the ratchet twists like so. So when you have it in this mode, it is stuck in, but when it gets hit, it'll twist and pop off. And essentially, the way that these bits work is this ball bit right here has weak resistance, so no part right there. However, if you compare it to taper, taper has high resistance with this little out piece, essentially. But what happens, essentially, with that is, when you have a bit like ball, and you have it inside the Beyblade, there is nothing pushing up against the inside of the ratchet, which has this little white piece. There is nothing pushing onto that little white piece, making it much more easy for the Bey to burst. However, if you have a bit like taper, this bit has the high resistance, the little thick part, and that essentially pushes up against this, causing more friction on this locking mechanism right here, and that basically makes it tighter so that it doesn't burst as easily. But that's essentially like kind of a deeper dive into how this all functions.
Now we will be getting over to the ratchet. This ratchet is 460. Very decent ratchet. I would say generally 4 sides isn't as good as anything else.
I also wanted to explain this a little better. So the reason that I do say that 4 is not a great ratchet, or it isn't as good as anything else, is ratchets have different functionalities. So 360, or any 3 really, is a good ratchet because it's quite round. It does have the little bump outs, but it's quite round. It's decent. 5, not only is it round, but it's also heavier than any of the other ratchets, what makes it good for heavier combos that you might want, and for combos that you want to have decent, if not pretty good, burst resistance. And 9 is essentially just a shaved down better version of 3. There really is no weakness to 9 other than it's quite a bit lighter than 5. 4 is not only just a basic weight, but it's essentially a square. So these little bump out parts stick out very much when you're in a battle. And no matter what Bey you use, whether it's 4-sided or 6-sided, these little bump out parts, if made contact with, are going to make your Bey burst a lot more than if you use any of the other options.
But it does have its use considering it is short. It's just very mediocre.
And finally, we get to our last stretch of talking about these Beys. We get to our Scythe Incendio blade. Now, this blade is very, very good. It continues to hold its own in a meta that has been going on for nearly a year now. Very good. Its main use is stamina. A good combo for it would be something like 360 ball. Very, very good, very, very round. These parts, early game, can be good for attack, but once it wears down, they don't really do much anymore. It doesn't change their performance enough for it to actually matter, but if you want this for attack, not your best option. I do have one complaint about this blade, is that it does break, and I dealt with it breaking. I have a broken one. Here's the QR code for anyone wondering if the glare will stop. But there's the QR code. But essentially, these parts inside right here, very thin because of this hole right here. So this is the only metal that you have. It's not pulled down at all. So I've dealt with these breaking, and eventually that causes a chain reaction to where an entire chunk of the blade broke off for me. It's probably not going to happen to you. The reason it happened to me is I used my Hell's Scythe so much. But it did break, and that is something to kind of watch out about. So maybe check every so often to see like, is it broken? Is there anything that you need to watch out for? But very, very good competitive blade. Has a big place in the meta. Nothing truly to say bad about it. I can say like the sticker design is like a little bit weird, but I very much like this. So nothing really bad to say about it. Really good. If you want to get a bay that is good and that will win you matches, Scythe Incendio is a great option.
So I'd say just be wary of that. Maybe don't overuse it. But the combo altogether now... Wait, I genuinely can't tell the difference between these two. Which one is which? Oh. I think there is, like, actually a slight color difference. I think this one's just a little bit more pink than this one. This is the Hasbro and this is the Takara Tomy. But altogether, this is Scythe Incendio, or Incendio. Still not really sure how to pronounce that. It's a fairly good balance type, a very good stamina blade, good stamina ratchet with slightly lower burst resistance, and a fairly decent attack and defense bit. I will be doing a test launch with the light launcher that it comes with. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Should do an extreme dash. But again, light launcher, not too great. I'll do another launch really quickly so I can get it closer to the camera so that you can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna cut this part out, don't worry. One launch. I'm gonna do one more launch, but Chain Incendio, or Incendio. A very good looking bay. Definitely one of my favorite designs of any of them. For localization reasons, they couldn't call it Hell. Obviously, this is America. We can't have anything having to do with that. But very much a good release. Very proud of Hasbro. It's definitely almost exactly the same as the original release. Thank you for watching, everybody, and always goodbye.
And I know this is something that might be on a lot of people's minds, but if you haven't already known, this is the exact same weight as a Takara Tomy one. This one is actually heavier than my Takara Tomy one. My Takara Tomy one was actually 31 before it broke. This one is 32. But yeah, holds up to Takara Tomy. I will say, like, compared to Drawn Sword is actually only 30. Oh, it's 34. That's so, yeah, if you're comparing to Drawn Sword, it's quite light, but if you're comparing it to the actual release, really good.